Here we are once again on a Thursday afternoon with the Jeff Does Vegas podcast and another edition of JDV Live. Streaming around the world on Facebook, and watch for the replay to show up a little bit later on YouTube. My name is Jeff. Hi. And I am the host of the Jeff Does Vegas podcast. It is Thursday, April the 30th, 2020. Sorry, I'm just arranging stuff on my desk here. I'm playing around with some new desk arrangements, so I apologize if I'm a little bit out of sorts here today on everything. It's, I don't know. I think we're all a little out of sorts on everything, aren't we? At this point in our lives. Welcome to everyone for joining and jumping on board here today and joining us again, streaming on Facebook at Jeff Does Vegas, and of course again on YouTube a little bit later on today on the Jeff Does Vegas YouTube channel. Hi everybody, hope you're all doing okay. Myself, I must say it's been kind of nice to be able to get outside. The last few days here in beautiful Calgary, Alberta, Canada, we've had some nice weather. Actually had some really nice weather over the last few days. Today it's like 14, 15 degrees Celsius. So it's kind of nice to be getting into that. Able to actually spend a little bit of time outdoors, spend some time on the patio, and just enjoy the coffee in the morning, maybe a beer later in the day. It's no Vegas, but I mean, really, right now, let's be honest, nothing is. I hope you are doing wonderfully. I hope you're doing okay. I hope everybody is staying safe and staying healthy. Yeah. Of course, if you're watching, if you're here today, and you're watching, the comment window is open. Feel free to interact with me, interact with each other, ask questions, make comments, post cookie recipes, do whatever it is you want to do. By all means, go right ahead and feel free to do that. Want to start by thanking everybody for watching last week's video feed. Went quite well. I think it went okay. All right, audience. Lots of great comments, lots of great questions. Had a lot of fun doing it. Had a lot of fun putting it together, and lots of people sharing it on their own Facebook pages and on YouTube and such. So again, thanks to everybody. We got lots of stuff to talk about today. We're going to, as per similarly to last time, we are going to cover some of the cancellations in Las Vegas, things that are going on. Easy for me to say. Things that are going on in Las Vegas, things that aren't going on in Las Vegas. A few big events canceled around the globe. And of course, the big question that everybody wants to know is, when is Las Vegas opening? I kind of, maybe, sort of, not really have some answers for you on that. So let's get things started as we did last time around, talking about some of the things and events that unfortunately are canceling out in Las Vegas over the next little while. Now, this one was actually announced back in March, but they hadn't made any decision yet as to when and where it was going to be reheld. I'm talking about the American Country Music Awards. They had originally been scheduled for March in Las Vegas. They got postponed to September, but the location had been left out on that. They revealed this week that they're actually going to be holding them in Nashville this year, which makes sense. They're going to hold them at a bunch of different locations and a bunch of different venues around Nashville. Still no word as of yet as to whether or not there's going to be a live audience allowed at this. The general consensus on everything right now seems to be that live audiences are kind of a no-go. They're kind of a non-starter right now at pretty much any event. They're talking sports, they're talking festivals or whatever, kind of any sort of event where there would normally be a live audience. They basically come around and said no. There likely won't be. So my thought is, come September, they're still going to be saying no live audience for the American Country Music Awards. Again, as I say, originally scheduled for March, in Vegas, postponed, moved to September. Another big event, well, not so much a big event, but lots of big events. MGM, they announced that shows, all live shows at all the resorts, have been canceled right through the entire month of May. And through the month of June. This is the addition. Now, originally they had said that they were going to be canceling everything through May. They've now said, again, as I say, they've said June. Next available on sale date for shows, we are looking at July the 1st. This includes all 5 MGM Resort Cirque shows, David Copperfield, Brad Garrett's Comedy Club, Carrot Top, Blue Man Group, Shin Lim, Boys to Men, Terry Fader. Basically anything happening at MGM Resort is not happening now through the month of June. They've also announced all the venues: Park MGM, MGM Grand Garden Arena, Mandalay Bay Events Center, T-Mobile. Those are all going to be dark right through to the end of June again. So if you had purchased tickets for an MGM show, if it's been canceled, they will automatically refund you. If the show is just listed as postponed, then you basically have to wait until your postponement date shows up. And if you can't make it, then you can contact them for a refund. At least I think that's the way it's going. They're trying to hold on to money as long as they possibly can. And I can't blame them. I mean, honestly, right now there's no cash flow coming in, so they need to hold on to the money as much as they possibly can. Now, this was a big event that was scheduled. Was supposed to happen last weekend. Talking about the NFL draft, the 2020 NFL draft had been scheduled for Las Vegas. This was going to be massive for the city. Like, we are talking 300, 400,000 people coming into Vegas, with events scheduled for up and down the strip, all over the strip. It was going to be absolutely huge. They were talking, like I say, like 350, 400,000 football fans coming into Vegas on this. Was canceled. Well, the NFL announced that they have rescheduled Las Vegas for 2022. Roger Goodell announced it last week during the first round of the NFL draft, which was held in kind of this weird, bizarre sort of way where they were doing it like by Zoom and Skype and guys in their houses and stuff. It was really kind of bizarre, but kind of cool to see at the same time. Anyways, yeah, so they announced that everything that had been planned for 2020 is now going to be done in 2022. So all of that nightmare traffic insanity that they were talking about, that is now going to happen in 2022. So that is a huge thing. Now, last week, we talked about some big events that were not Vegas, but were big events nonetheless. Once again, we've got another edition of Not Vegas, but a couple of big events that were canceled. The Calgary Stampede. I mentioned this one last week during the live stream as a rumored cancellation. About an hour after I finished the live stream, the folks from the Calgary Stampede came out and announced that, yes, the Calgary Stampede was going to be canceled for 2020. This is the first time since the Stampede became an annual event that it's ever been canceled, in almost 100 years that it's ever been canceled. It's generally held early July here in the city of Calgary. It brings about $250 million in revenue into the city. I mean, you can't book a hotel room for over the course of the entire Stampede. Restaurants are jammed, bars are jammed. And as I was saying last week during the live feed, when I first moved to Calgary, I really didn't realize how big of a thing this was. And the radio station that I was working for at the time, the first summer I got here, my boss said to me, he goes, "Well, you have cowboy boots, right?" I went to him, "Why the hell would I have cowboy boots?" No, why do I have cowboy boots? "Well, you're going to need cowboy boots for the Stampede." I mean, I had no idea. I mean, people are walking around the city dressed like cowboys, and the city basically shuts down. So if you're looking for a fun adventure, I would recommend the Calgary Stampede for next year. It's going to be a massive party. But anyways, yeah, $250 million in revenue into the city, close to $500 million over the course of the year. I mean, this is going to be a huge hit to the pocketbook here for the city. So that's a huge one that was canceled. Another one that was canceled, missed out on this one last week. I'm not sure how. San Diego ComicCon. This is big. I mean, this is not just for comic book nerds. I mean, it is, but it's not. Like, if you are a sci-fi fan or a comic book fan or a pop culture fan at all, San Diego ComicCon is massive. This is the first time in 50 years that this event has been canceled. This is considered to be the pinnacle of the cons over the course of the year. We're talking like 150,000 people coming into San Diego, generates about $150 million for the city in and of itself. So again, this is going to be a huge hit. And as these big events and big festivals get canceled, I'll keep reporting them. I'll keep telling you about them, because I think it's important that people understand exactly how big of a deal this COVID is, and that it's not just affecting the city of Las Vegas, even though that is particularly what we are here to talk about, is what's going on in the city of Las Vegas, which takes us to our next segment of the program. What is happening in Vegas? Well, the big question that still is on everyone's mind is, when is Vegas reopening? When am I going to be able to get back to the city I love? I suspect it's probably not going to be for a while, unfortunately. Earlier today, late last night, sort of unofficially announced that Nevada's stay-at-home order, put into place back a while ago by Nevada Governor Steve Sisolak, that has been extended to May the 15th, or until the state meets the guidelines that have been set out by the federal government, by the White House. Once those guidelines start getting met, they will be starting to reopen things. Now, that being said, some of the guidelines and some of the restrictions are being relaxed. As of May the 1st, retail businesses are going to be able to operate with curbside service. I'm sure you're familiar with the curbside service. I got to tell you, I'm loving the curbside service. I'm not going to lie to you. The idea of not having to wait in line somewhere and go in somewhere and hunt around for stuff, being able to order it online and then just show up, open up my passenger window and have them basically toss it in the passenger window, is fantastic. But as of May 1st, retail businesses, as I say, they will be allowed to operate with curbside service rather. This includes cannabis dispensaries. If that's a thing that's important to you, there you go. You're going to be able to drive up and get your pot right there. No questions asked. Drive-in services are also going to be permitted for churches, as long as people stay in their vehicles and remain 6 feet away from people not in their household. They're also going to be relaxing restrictions on some outdoor activities, including things like golf and pickleball and tennis. And if you're wondering what pickleball is, please allow me to briefly explain to you here. Pickleball is like if tennis and badminton and racquetball and squash had a baby. That's really the only way that I can pick to describe it. It's a fun sport. I know I don't necessarily look like the kind of person that partakes in a lot of sports, but a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to play some pickleball while I was visiting family down in Arizona, in Phoenix, and it was a blast. We had just a great time playing pickleball. It was so much fun. Anyways, you're going to be able to play pickleball now if you're in the state of Nevada. That is good. Now, that being said, where are we at with things like casinos and hotels and bars and clubs and that kind of stuff? According to the governor, we are far way away from that. He said, Governor Sisolak said in an interview with Good Morning America yesterday that they are talking about they're saying that casinos, gaming, things like that are probably in the third or fourth phase of reopening. So right now they're basically in phase 0 going into phase 1. So again, these stay-at-home orders are being extended to May the 15th. All of this, of course, is subject to change. This does make for some interesting times, though, because Treasure Island, Caesars, and Wynn have all said that they are going to start taking reservations for their resorts as of May 15th. Of course, again, all of this is 100% subject to change. So that's something to keep in mind. If you do decide you want to make a trek down to Vegas or try to get to Vegas, these hotels do have reservations available for May the 15th. But if I were you, I would anticipate that those reservations, if you make them, they're probably going to get canceled. Why do I say that? Well, because the Venetian and MGM last week, the Venetian canceled all of their reservations through the entire month of May. MGM Resorts canceled everything up to May the 21st and is not accepting any new reservations after until June the 1st. So that gives you a pretty good idea. Brandon on the chat asking the question, are places like Red Rock and Valley of Fire open? To the best of my knowledge, those places are closed. Red Rock National Park, I don't believe you can drive in. Valley of Fire, I think the parking lot is blocked off. That being said, I've seen photos online of people who have been driving out to these different spots and actually going for walks and going for hikes and parking their vehicles. So I don't know whether or not people will actually be able to access those spots or not. So that's a good question, though, Brandon. I appreciate that, and that's something I'll look into, and I'll share some information on that once I have it on the Facebook page. I'll pop that information out for you. Now, more plans are starting to be revealed for some of the reopenings. Of course, last week the Wynn and MGM put out their plans. This week, it's the Venetian. They have come forward and revealed what they are calling their Venetian Clean Commitment. So what does this exactly mean? Well, it means that they are going to be installing thermal cameras. So there'll be thermal cameras at every entrance taking people's temperatures. Anyone with a temperature above 100.4 degrees is going to be sent for secondary screening. Then they're also going to have EMTs on staff 24 hours a day. Guests to the hotel will get an amenity kit with sanitizer, wipes, and gloves. People will be able to wear face masks inside the hotel, only covering the mouth and nose, though. You're not going to be able to wear anything covering your entire face, so that doesn't change. All these slot machines are going to be arranged for social distancing. The table games, this is interesting. They are going to have a maximum of 3 chairs at each of the table games. So in looking around online and some of the questions that people were asking about this, they brought up some really interesting points. I would think that with only 3 people sitting at a table game, whether it's blackjack or poker or any of the table games, I would think that affects the odds of the game. But again, I'm no mathematician, so I don't really know on these things. They have also said, the Venetian has also said that the gondolas, that of course, if you've ever been to the Venetian, you know they have the gondolas that run through not the Forum shops, the Grand Canal shops. Those gondolas, they are going to be capping those out at 4 riders, and the drivers are, as they call them, pilots, which I kind of find funny. They are going to be capped out at a maximum of 4 riders, and the pilots are going to be wearing masks as well. Now, Caesars has also come forward and revealed a little bit more about their plans and what they have in mind. So they have basically said that they are just going to build on what was starting to come into effect when everything shut down back in March. So something that they're going to do, they're going to increase availability of hand sanitizer. That's going to be a big thing for them. The slot machines, they're going to be cleaned every 3 hours, which to me, I got to say to you, I got to be honest, I don't feel like that's enough, because humans are gross. and I only say that from my own personal experience of watching people leave a bathroom not washing their hands and then going over to a machine and just popping cash in and playing away. But anyways, I digress. They will clean the slot machines every 3 hours. Every other slot machine is also going to be turned off, so that will help to with the social distancing. Every other position at the table games is going to be removed. And of course, restaurants, they will separate the tables by 6 feet. And they're also going to reduce the capacity in the bars and lounges by half. So that's a pretty big deal that's something that they're going to be doing. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see how that all comes into play and how that's all set up. The fine folks at the Nevada Gaming Control Board, they have also started to weigh in, because of course all of the casinos are all regulated by the Nevada Gaming Control Board and the Gaming Commission. So they've started to weigh in as well on what they're looking at, or what a reopening might look like, what kind of restrictions they might put into place. They're looking at ways to actually restrict admission to the casinos to reduce occupancy in order to ensure social distancing. So this is kind of a huge deal. This is something that's never really been considered before as far as setting occupancy limits in the casinos. They've done it somewhat in the past with when they've had new properties open and they've had to limit the number of people coming in, or at big events like, say, New Year's, where, I mean, you've got 250,000 people, or however. Honestly, New Year's Eve on the Las Vegas Strip sounds like a nightmare to me, and I love Vegas, but honestly, it sounds like an absolute nightmare to me. New Year's Eve, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll actually limit entry to the various hotels to hotel guests only, and you'll actually have to show a room key at the door in order to be able to access a specific hotel. So that's something that they're talking about. But again, they've said, to clarify, they're not looking at a set occupancy level per se, just a policy that would allow them to actually promote social distancing. Now, critics of this have come out and said, we need to find the balance between safety and fun. People aren't going to want to come to Las Vegas if it's going to be a hassle. And this is a discussion that I've had in a lot of different places, on a lot of different Facebook groups and social media groups that I'm on that are involved, that talk about Vegas. The discussion, everybody's in such a raging rush to get back to Las Vegas. And I don't think people realize the hassle that's going to be involved with all of this. And I think that hassle, quite honestly, is going to start at the airport. They're already getting to the point, I think it's JetBlue in the US has said that they're going to require all of their passengers to now start wearing masks. So that's going to be a thing. So JetBlue is talking about doing that. Transport Canada here in Canada actually put in a directive where people are going to have to wear a mask. Basically, as soon as you walk in the airport, you have to wear a mask. As you're going through security, you have to wear a mask checking in, getting on the plane. And most of the airlines have now said you have to wear a mask anytime you're on board the aircraft. So again, this is, it's going to be a hassle. And if all of a sudden you're now getting off the plane in Las Vegas, which was a fun place for you before, now all of a sudden you're dealing with getting your temperature checked as you walk through the door. You're dealing with thermal cameras. You're dealing with being handed masks and gloves and having to wear those masks everywhere you go. Again, I understand it. I get it, and I'm in favor of it right now. But as I say, what's going to happen is people are going to start looking at it as a hassle. And I think it's going to be a while before we see anything even close to what we used to know and love as far as the ability to be able to have fun in Las Vegas. And as I say, I think people are really, they haven't figured that out yet, that's going to be a problem, quote unquote, a problem when you go to Las Vegas. But again, as I say, they need to find the balance between safety and fun. Everybody wants to stay safe. Everybody wants to stay healthy. But of course, as I say, everybody wants to go to Vegas and kind of cut loose. Now, something that they've talked about that has started popping up a little bit on social media and various places is sneeze guards. This is something that you probably previously only saw at the buffets. Sneeze guards. Makes perfect sense. There is some footage floating around online showing what it would look like to have a sneeze guard installed on a casino table. Let's take a look at that. This is video that is from a casino in Louisiana where they were demonstrating on a blackjack table what it would look like. The guy standing up to show how tall he is and how tall these are. He was 6'2" in the video, they said. So this is basically just showing what this would look like. You can see the separation between the player and the dealer, the panels separating the various players. You can see how it's set up there on the table. So this, I mean, it's a great thing, but it really only solves one problem. And that's the breathing or the coughing or the sneezing or the aerosolization of whatever between a player and a dealer. That's really the only problem that it solves here. It doesn't solve the problem of touching the tabletop, touching the chair, touching cards, touching chips, handling money, which, as we all know, is gross and filthy and disgusting. Chip sanitizers, this is potentially becoming a thing. This is maybe a job. People that their sole job will be to clean casino chips. That could be a thing. The other possibility that we may be looking at here is that table games and slot machines, they could go cashless. Now, I know this is something that was already being discussed and was already being looked at. I'd actually seen some video and some photos from other casinos elsewhere in Nevada and elsewhere across the U.S. where it looked like what was essentially a debit card machine right on the casino table. And you'd tap your card on there, you'd slide your card and enter your PIN. The other option, I guess, would be to treat your players' cards as almost like a debit card or a credit card, where you would add funds to the card, or I guess more like a gift card than anything, where you would add funds to the card. And as such, you could then just swipe or tap your card on there and use the money from that. The other question that came up, and I saw this one was kind of interesting, was whether or not the reflections off of the plexiglass could actually be used to cheat. Whether you'd be able to read other people's cards off of the plexiglass. That's a really interesting discussion. It's interesting. And again, these are kind of prototypes and ideas that have just been sort of floated around. Nothing is set in stone as of yet. Nobody has said this is what's going to happen, but I suspect that you're probably going to see something along those lines. Now, there's also been a few prototypes of other designs that have been floating around there online. This was a prototype, a design I saw from, this looks like a video roulette wheel. You can see the separation there between the players from side to side. This one was with, I guess, live roulette, what it would look like potentially. And again, you see those separative panels in between each player. I don't know, man. I don't know that is actually doing anything the more that I look at that now. I mean, aerosolization, if somebody coughs or even if somebody talks, it's just up in the air, right? So I don't know. And then this was at the slot machines. This one, again, was another one that I don't know, like, again, slot machines are really only as clean as the people who are touching them, and what I said earlier, people are gross. I mean, I've watched people come out of the bathroom. Now, again, I've also watched people drinking in the bathroom. That makes me want to vomit. But I've seen that as well as a thing. So again, they're only as clean as the people that are touching them. So are they going to have staff who are constantly coming around and cleaning the slot machines? Every 3 hours does not seem reasonable to me. I know not every slot player is like me. I bounce around from machine to machine to machine. I don't stay at a machine for any real length of time. But again, I mean, unless they're going to have staff constantly coming to clean them or cleaning them after a player gets up, like almost like somebody just standing there watching, waiting for a player to get up. So as soon as a person gets up, they go over and they clean it. Are they going to have wipes available to clean them? Are they going to encourage people to bring their own wipes? These are all questions and all things that need to be discussed and need to be figured out before we can even look at a possible opening of the casinos and the gaming floors. So again, I want to get back to Las Vegas as much as the next person. I don't just want to get back there to gamble and go to shows. I mean, I have friends that live down there, and it's breaking my heart to not be able to go down there and spend time with them and help them. But whether or not they're actually going to be able to set this up, it's going to take some time. And May the 15th, I mean, that's just a little over 2 weeks away. I legitimately don't see May the 15th as a possible for opening, but I'm not an expert. The governor has experts working on this. There are health experts working on this, in spite of what there are, the people out there that are, the tinfoil hat crew that maybe don't necessarily believe that. They are working on plans. It's just going to take a little bit of patience. And I know it sucks that people are out of work. It sucks that people have lost their jobs. All of this whole situation entirely sucks, but I promise you it's going to get better. And when it is better, it's 100% going to be worth it. And we're all going to be a lot better off for it. So moving on, let's talk about some of the good news and some of the positive stuff that's been happening in the world of Las Vegas and the world of where I'm at. I need to say a massive congratulations to my good pal Mark Chinook and the entire team at Mondays Dark. I don't know if you tuned in for this, if you watched any of it. It was a Herculean undertaking for them to put together a live stream video. They did a 6-hour live stream telethon on Monday night with a 1-hour after show. Made some amazing money for an amazing cause. They had some huge names show up. Brad Garrett was on Skype with Mark, which was very cool to see Mark chatting with him. Shania Twain made a video appearance. Joey Fatone from NSYNC, Olivia Newton-John, Dot Marie Jones from Glee, and of course, Mr. Vegas himself, Wayne Newton. He also made an appearance. Several friends of this very podcast, people who have appeared in past episodes and upcoming episodes, appeared on there as well, including Lisa Marie Smith, Vin A. from the Bronx Wanderers, John D. Domenico, Kenny Davidson, Macking the Cheese, so many more. Made just an incredible effort to raise money for the Actors Fund, which is going to help out all the out of work folks who are involved in the Las Vegas entertainment scene. They managed to put together, this was huge, $122,000 raised, all donations, all people texting in, all people going online, making donations. It was just absolutely incredible to see this. And so massive kudos to Mark and everybody, the entire Mondays Dark family, for putting this together. Now, if you missed out on the live show, they are still streaming the replay on the Mondays Dark Facebook page, and you can also catch it on the Mondays Dark website as well at mondaysdark.com. And something else you need to do, you need to go on the website at mondaysdark.com, click on the merch link, and purchase your FU COVID gear, including FU COVID hats. They've got FU COVID masks. They've got FU COVID hats. I've got one in the background there. I'm just going to hang on. I feel this needs to happen right now. This needs to happen. I got to make sure it's on straight and looks good. And it's, Yeah, that's about as good as it's going to get, I think. There we go. So these are the hats, the FU COVID hats. They've got the snapbacks, which is what this one is. There's also the dad hat. And as mentioned, there are FU COVID masks on there as well. We're getting to that point now in the world where they're telling us, you know what? You're going to have to wear a mask if you want to go in these places. Costco has already started doing that. The casinos are going to start doing that. So why not get ahead of the curve, so to speak, and get yourself an FU COVID mask? Again, mondaysdark.com. The hats, again, the dad hat, the snapback, they're only $20, and 100% of the proceeds are going to the Actors Fund for the Las Vegas entertainment community. So, again, FU COVID, and you can get your hats at mondaysdark.com. So there we go. All right. Just fix that hat. There we go. That's what I need. I'm not going to lie to you. As my hair gets longer and I haven't been able to go get a haircut like all of you, I'm not quite at the point yet where I'm ready to let my wife cut my hair for me. And I don't feel quite confident enough to do it myself. So these hats are going to become a staple of the wardrobe, I think, over the next while. I want to tell you about what's going on in the podcast here over the next little while. Coming up on Monday, brand new episode of the podcast drops with my good friends Colin Cahill, Mackenzie Fly, aka Mack and the Cheese. They performed on the Mondays Dark Telethon. They have their own YouTube channel. They've put together several pandemic-themed comedy songs. That's really the only way I can think of it. They are going to have, I chatted with them via Zoom. We had a great conversation. We talked about their life in Vegas pre-pandemic, what they were up to. Mackenzie was one of the leads in Sex Tips for a Straight Woman from a Gay Man at the Paris. I think I got that right. And Colin was one of the performers in Spiegelworld's Atomic Saloon. When all of this went down, they wanted to find a way to keep performing and keep getting content out. And this is what they came up with, was Macking the Cheese. So that's going to be a lot of fun to talk to them. And so they've got that coming up. And then yesterday I had a conversation with, not with Howard Hughes, but with Jeff Schumacher from the Mob Museum, who recently released a book all about Howard Hughes. It's kind of a re-release on the book. He's added a bunch of material to it. Howard Hughes, for those that are not 100% in the aware, spent a lot of time in Las Vegas. So much so, in fact, that he bought a hotel because they wanted to kick him out. That was a story that actually happened, and that was something that we talked about in our interview. So I'm looking at getting that episode released on May the 11th. So you want to make sure that you are watching the website at jeffdoesvegas.com for that. And of course, subscribe to the podcast for that. Also, very happy to announce that I'm like this close to finishing volume 1 of Sin City Stories. This is a podcast that I'm putting together that's kind of a side project of this podcast, where I want to take deep dives into Las Vegas history. It's a lot of research involved with putting together these podcasts. It's a lot of information, but as I said last week during the live feed, I want to make sure that it doesn't just sound like I'm reading to you from a Wikipedia page, because nobody wants to listen to that. I think that would be boring as hell. So I've started to put this together. So again, the very first episode of Sin City Stories, Volume 1, Big Gambles and Epic Failures. This was a lot of fun to put together. And so I'm looking forward to getting that out to you guys. And it really, I'm hoping that everybody's going to enjoy it, especially since, so I put out a Twitter survey this week asking what people want to hear on the podcast, because of course it's a Las Vegas podcast. People are not traveling. Las Vegas is closed. What do you put in this podcast? So I put it out there and I asked, what do people want to hear? Do you want to hear from Vegas entertainers? Do you want to hear about Vegas history? Do you just want to hear other Vegas related stuff? And overwhelmingly, and I'm not going to say I was shocked by this, but I was kind of surprised, overwhelmingly, people want to hear about Las Vegas history. The city is just a little over 100 years old, but you look at the history in this city, there's some really, really interesting stuff that happened in the city. And so this volume 1, Big Gambles and Epic Failures, I think you're really going to enjoy. I say we as in like I have a whole crew. It's just me. I took a deep dive into some massive projects that really the sort of overwhelming theme on 3 of them, I guess, or 2 of them for sure. I don't know. It's like I didn't do the research myself. I totally did. The big thing on some of the projects was that the economy just went completely in the tank. 2 of them, the economy went in the tank. One was a raging cluster, you know what, and the other was just not a raging cluster, you know what, but somewhat of a cluster. Anyways, I'm hoping to have that out by the end of probably middle to end of May. And I'm thinking it'll come out as a regular, like on a regular podcast release date. So anyways, watch for that. Sin City Stories, Deep Dives into Las Vegas History, Volume 1, Big Gambles, Epic Failures. That is going to be a lot of fun to post that as well. Just a reminder to jump into the archives and make sure you check out some of the past episodes as well. The last episode number 60, Quarantainment, with Devin and Nina from the Socially Distant Show. This was a lot of fun to put together. Two gals from Las Vegas. They're both Vegas showgirls, Vegas performers. They, when everything kind of went sideways, they wanted to do something for the entertainment community, for their friends. And so what they did was they put together this, they call it the Socially Distant Show. And it's basically an online show where they have performers submit videos to them, which they then put together and release every week in a big show. There's a charitable aspect as well, so you can make donations to GoFundMe, and they have been distributing that money to the people who have been appearing on the show. So that is really, really cool. Also getting some very positive feedback on episode number 59, The Tipping Point, which was my interview with Jacqueline Whitmore, the etiquette expert. She was kind enough to come on with me and talk about tipping etiquette, because that's one of the things that really seems to throw people off and throw people into a real fervor with Vegas discussions, is how much to tip, who to tip, what do you tip for, should you be tipping, should you not be tipping? These were all the questions that I wanted to take to an expert, somebody that actually knows. I mean, it's great for everybody to kind of hash it out amongst themselves and discuss it amongst themselves. But you know what? None of us are experts. She is a legitimate expert on tipping. So anyway, so that was fun to put that together. Again, getting some great feedback from folks on that. Again, if you haven't checked it out, episode number 59 of the podcast, you can jump in and check that out. A couple of other tidbits and things that I want to hit on as well. The YouTube channel. There's a link from the website at jeffdoesvegas.com to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to keep up with getting content up there. Here's a neat thing that you may not be aware of. If you're not into listening to podcasts on your iPhone or your Android or using Spotify or something like that, every single episode of the podcast, there's a video version of the audio that is uploaded onto the YouTube channel. So I know a lot of people, again, I've seen listenership drop a little bit, downloads drop a little bit during the pandemic. More people are home. People are not commuting. People are not traveling. They're not listening as much on their devices. You can pop this on your computer, open up a YouTube tab, go to the YouTube channel, and you can play the podcasts from YouTube right there. So those are on there. And again, I'm also trying to keep up with trying to get content up on the channel as well. So I'm looking at a few different things that I'm going to put up there this week. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, you could just go to jeffdoesvegas.com, click on the YouTube channel link at the top of the page and do that. I also, this is kind of fun, recently created the Jeff Does Vegas podcast Facebook group. Now, you might be wondering yourself, what the hell is the difference between the group and the page? Well, The page is kind of a place where I just shamelessly promote stuff and throw out episode releases and throw out when, if there's Vegas news or anything like that to share. This Facebook group I've created kind of as a place for listeners of the podcast to interact with myself and interact with each other. This has been a lot of fun. It's kind of started slow. It is a private Facebook group, so you do have to ask for permission to join. And if I am willing to accept you into the group, then I will accept you into the group and you will be in there. You can interact with each other. You can contact each other. You can share Vegas tips and tricks with each other, share your photos, share some memories, share your own trip reports. Once we're able to actually travel, you can ask for advice, whatever. It's just a fun place for everybody to kind of interact with each other, and a fun little community for everyone as well. So that is on there. Again, if you want to get into there, you should be able to find the group. It's not a hidden group, so you should be able to find it. But if you want to join it, you do have to be approved to join. And if you've got friends that you think might be interested in being on the page, by all means, feel free to invite them to join as well. So there we go. Short and sweet today on the live feed. Oh, maybe not that short and sweet. Thank you again to everybody for tuning in and joining me on the live stream today. Whether you're watching on Facebook or you're watching the replay on YouTube, again, thank you for watching. Please feel free to share this with your friends, and if you've got anybody that you think is a Vegas fan that doesn't know about us here on the podcast, please let them know. Share it with them. JeffDoesVegas.com. That's the website. And of course, I'm on social media as well, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, @JeffDoesVegas. If you've got feedback on anything, whether it's feedback on the podcast or the live stream, if you've got suggestions for topics, things you'd like me to cover on the podcast or on the live stream or on Sin City Stories or any of that stuff, let me know. And again, as I've said in past live streams, we're in some weird times right now. Everybody's got all kinds of strange shit going on. Please, if you need to talk, please reach out. Let me know. You can contact me by email at jeff@jeffdoesvegas.com, or as I say, feel free to reach out via any of those social media channels as well. In the meantime, that is it for today. Planning on trying to do one of these every week. So hopefully we will be back here next week. And can you believe that the next time we chat, to quote NSYNC, it's going to be May. That was terrible. Can't believe I went there. Have a fantastic day, everybody. Bye.